We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. I have stared down snipers. I have cleared rooms rigged with IEDs. I have carried bleeding men on my back through enemy fire. Nothing, not a single damn moment in war, ever made my knees buckle. Until I read that message. Daddy, why does Mommy kiss Uncle Brett when you are gone? It was a Sunday. Sunny, quiet, peaceful. Hazel was upstairs, texting me from the iPad I had given her for school. I was on the base finishing my final shift before retirement. That message came in like a bullet through my ribs. My fingers went cold. I could not move. My jaw clenched so hard I heard it crack. Trina had always called Brett like a brother. We had all grown up in the same town, same church, same cookouts. When I got deployed, Brett would check on her, help fix things around the house. The perfect family friend. God, I was blind. I called Hazel right away. Hey baby, where is Mommy now? I asked, trying not to sound like I was choking on my own voice. She's in the kitchen. Uncle Brett left when she saw me watching. Did she say anything? Hazel paused. She told me not to tell you. I did not cry. Not then. I just stared at the wall in the base barracks, heart pounding in my ears like mortar fire. I hung up, stood, and walked outside into the freezing wind. I had fought for this country. I had come home expecting peace. Instead, I got betrayal from the woman I had built my life around, and the man I used to call my brother. What else were they hiding from me? Wait, I need to tell you something important. Have you ever realized that you keep watching my videos but haven't subscribed yet? This video has reached this point, which means you're enjoying it. So why not subscribe? I have a big goal, 10,000 subscribers, and you can help me reach it. Think about it. If you don't subscribe now, you might miss my next big video. This is the moment. Hit that subscribe button now. Do it now. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss out. I know you'll do it. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, I have a special surprise for you. Now, let's continue story. The front door creaked as I walked in later that week. Trina greeted me in her robe, barefoot, holding coffee like nothing had happened. You were home early, she said, smiling. I kissed her cheek. She smelled like lavender and deceit. Hazel ran to me, hugging my waist tight. I knelt down, kissed her forehead. You good, bug? She nodded, then whispered, I did not tell her you know. Trina's voice floated from behind. Hazel, go finish your cartoons. I stood up slowly. Yeah, kiddo, go ahead. Daddy will be there in a bit. Trina leaned against the wall, sipping. You look tense. Base getting to you again. I looked at her eyes. She was composed. No guilt, no panic. Just a woman with a secret she thought was safe. Yeah, I muttered. Base stuff. Just need to settle in. I made your favorite tonight. Roast and mashed. Thought it would be nice to have a normal dinner again. Normal. That word hit like a punch. What even was normal anymore? That night, we ate in silence. Trina talked about neighborhood gossip, PDA meetings, how the neighbor's cat went missing. Hazel pushed peas around her plate. I saw Brett at the store, Trina said casually, sipping wine. My grip on the fork tightened. Oh yeah? What was he buying? She blinked once. Too long. Beer. I think. The way she said it. Too calculated. Too calm. After dinner, she leaned into me on the couch like she used to. My body stiffened. Her hand slid down my arm. You okay? She whispered. I will be, I said. And I meant it. I was going to find out everything. And when I did, I would burn their secret world down to the ground. But first, I had to be smarter than them. Brett Whitmore. 37. Divorced. HVAC contractor. No criminal record. Still lived in the same house he had since high school, about 7 minutes from mine. I started tracking him the next morning. Hazel was at school. Trina thought I had gone to the VA for therapy. Instead, I parked 2 blocks from Brett's house with a pair of high-end binoculars and a long lens camera I borrowed from an old army buddy who worked surveillance. At 10:17 a.m., Trina's car pulled into his driveway. Not a word. Not a wave. She just walked straight into his house like she had a damn key. I felt a chill in my spine. Not anger. Not even heartbreak. Just clarity. They were not being careful anymore. They had probably stopped caring. By 11:49 a.m., she came back out, hair a mess, wearing a different hoodie than she went in with. Later that night, I checked our shared Google Maps history. Her location was off. She had turned it off an hour before she arrived at Brett's. I began setting up everything. Voice recorders, a backup burner phone, cloud storage with auto-upload, legal consultation booked. Quiet, patient, focused. This was not going to be a fight. It was going to be a mission. But that night, lying beside her, I stared at the ceiling. I had fought for my family. Now I had to fight to protect my daughter from the fallout of her mother's betrayal. Trina whispered, "You seem far away lately." I turned to her. "I am right here." I smiled. She smiled back, believing me. But we both knew. We were already at war. I started moving like a soldier again. No emotion. No hesitation. Only intention. On the surface, life continued. I made breakfast. I walked Hazel to the bus stop. I smiled when Trina handed me my coffee. But behind my eyes, plans were forming. By the end of that week, I had set up a secondary phone, not registered to my name. With it, I installed cloud-synced voice recording apps. One under the dresser, one behind the bedroom mirror, one clipped inside her car's passenger door panel. Next, I set a micro camera behind the vent in our bedroom, hidden behind a black mesh screen, invisible unless you were looking for it. I checked the footage daily. Trina was clever. She never brought him into the house. Not yet. But her phone calls, her humming while texting, the way she changed her phone passcode every few days, it all told me what I needed to know. One night, I heard her whisper on the phone while I was asleep. "I miss you too. He is not even looking at me lately. We just need a little longer, okay?" My blood turned ice. That was the night I stopped sleeping in the bed, mentally, at least. The next day, I smiled and handed her the keys to my truck. "You are taking the truck today?" she asked. "Yeah. Need to get it serviced." "Take the sedan. You are good." She kissed me. On the cheek. Soft. Like a nurse with a dying patient. I watched her pull out of the driveway. Then I tapped into the live audio feed under the sedan's glove box. 22 minutes later, her voice came through. "Hi, baby. I have about 2 hours. You still want me to bring lunch?" I sat in the kitchen, phone in hand, listening to the woman I loved flirt with a man I trusted. And yet, I still did not flinch. Not because it did not hurt. Because I was not finished building the trap. 2 weeks before our anniversary, I made a decision. I booked a hotel under a fake name. I told Trina I was getting a 3-day counseling retreat through the VA. She hugged me goodbye and whispered, "You have been doing better lately." That hurt. I checked into the hotel, set up the laptop, watched the live camera feed of our home. At exactly 8:03 p.m., Brett walked through my front door. Trina did not even wait. She greeted him in a dress I had bought her for our 5th anniversary. The same one she told me made her feel too old to wear anymore. They kissed in the kitchen. They cooked together. Pasta. My favorite. They laughed like teenagers. Played music. Slow danced in my living room. Hazel was at her friend's house. Trina had planned it perfectly. At 9:14 p.m., they went upstairs. I turned the volume off. I watched them on the bed I built with my own hands. That moment did not shatter me. It sharpened me. I screen recorded everything, uploaded the file to my private server, duplicated it to a flash drive, locked the drive in my gym locker. I was going to need it later. The next morning, I returned home. Trina kissed me at the door, made eggs, told me she missed me. I gave her flowers, real ones. She gasped. "These are beautiful. They reminded me of you," I said, deadpan. She smiled like a snake in summer grass. Hazel hugged me tight that night and whispered, "You are home for good now?" I looked her in the eyes. "For good," I said. That night, I slept on the edge of the bed. And for the first time, I prayed not for peace, but for patience. Because the reckoning was coming. The thing about betrayal, it breaks something in you, but it also wakes something up. The next weekend, Trina took Hazel shopping. I used the time to organize files, printed texts, dated footage logs, email screenshots. Her calendar app was a goldmine. She had been careless. But Hazel's message still haunted me. Why does Mommy kiss Uncle Brett? She had no idea what she saw, but she felt it. Kids know when the people who are supposed to love them are lying. They do not need details. They feel the tension in every fake laugh, every dodged question. When they got home, Hazel ran up to her room. Trina tossed the shopping bags on the couch. Do not forget we have dinner at your parents' next weekend. Right? I said, distracted. Cole, are you even listening? I looked at her. I am just tired. Later that night, I knocked on Hazel's door. Can I come in? She was drawing in her sketchbook. She nodded. I sat on the floor beside her bed. You remember when you sent me that message? She looked nervous. Am I in trouble? Never, I said quickly. You were honest, and I am proud of you for that. She looked down. I just thought maybe you would go away like Mommy said. My jaw clenched. She said what? She said if you found out, you would leave. Like Grandpa did. I took a breath. My chest ached. I reached for her hand. Hazel, no matter what happens between me and your mom, I will never leave you. Do you understand me? She nodded, but tears rolled down her cheeks. I held her close. She smelled like shampoo and fear. In that moment, I did not care about revenge. I cared about her. She was the only thing real left in this house of lies. The first time I planned an ambush, I was 23, kneeling in red dirt in southern Afghanistan. I had no backup, just patience, wind, and a target I could not miss. This was no different. Trina's life looked normal from the outside, same school drop-offs, same fake kisses on the cheek when neighbors were watching. But now, I was behind the curtain, pulling the strings. Phase 1 began on a Thursday morning. She left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I watched her pull out of the driveway through the blinds. 10 minutes later, I slid into the seat like it was an operation vehicle. Password? Hazel's birthday. Of course. She had an open tab, a shared spreadsheet between her and Brett, hidden behind wedding planning ideas. Clever, if it had not been so disgustingly obvious. The document showed budget breakdowns for an apartment lease. Not ours. One in Denver. Deposit already paid. She had drained over $14,000 from our savings over the past 3 months. Not for bills. Not for Hazel. For her escape. I downloaded the document, took screenshots of the email chains, and forwarded them to a secure folder. Then I made an anonymous call. Hello, is this Helen Marks at Ascend Marketing? I just wanted to report that one of your employees may be engaging in unethical activity involving company funds, the woman paused. Who exactly? Trina Danner. Check her recent travel expenses. And the hotel she billed as client research. It was a weekend getaway with someone who is not her husband. Click. One domino. As I stood by the window later that day, coffee in hand, I watched Trina pull back into the driveway. She smiled up at the house like she was walking back into her throne. But the floor beneath her was already rotting. I found the second phone 2 days later, wedged beneath the passenger seat of her sedan, wrapped in a scarf I had given her for Christmas 2 years ago. The screen lit up with a fingerprint. Hers. No password. Just foolish trust. Inside? Over 100 messages with Brett. Photos. Voice notes. Plans. The kind that made you sick to your stomach. I sat in my garage, door shut, phone in hand, reading every word while the sound of Trina upstairs doing laundry echoed through the walls. Brett, did you tell him about the Denver plan yet? Trina, no, not yet. He has to think it is his idea to stay behind. He will not fight for Hazel. He will think she is safer with me. Brett, he is too soft now. We made him boring. I dropped the phone on the workbench. Soft? They had no idea what soft looked like. What they were going to see would make their lies look like bedtime stories. I copied everything to the flash drive. Then I bought another burner and texted Brett from it. I know everything. Stop being my wife. I waited. 10 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Panicked reply. Who is this? Another message. We did not mean to hurt anyone. Please, let us talk. I smiled. They were rattled now. I tossed the scarf into the trash, snapped photos of the phone screen, and sent one copy of the chat logs to a law firm specializing in infidelity-related custody cases. Trina knocked on the garage door later that evening. "You okay in there?" I took a deep breath. "Yeah, just fixing a few loose ends." She laughed softly. "You and your projects." I looked at the burner phone one last time, then buried it in a sealed toolbox. Not yet. The time would come when that phone would speak louder than any scream. I sat with the bank manager the next morning. Suit, no tie. Calm voice. Clean paper trail. "I would like to go over recent activity on our joint savings." He nodded. "Of course, Mr. Danner." Just a moment. The screen between us glowed with columns of numbers. I already knew what I would see, but hearing him read it out loud made it real. $14,329 withdrawn over 8 transfers, all within the last 90 days. My pulse stayed steady. "Can I get statements printed? I need them for an upcoming legal review." "Certainly. Is everything all right?" I smiled politely. "Not yet, but it will be." Back home, I placed the printed statements into a folder marked C1 Evidence. Then I added them to a locked fireproof safe in the closet. Trina was in the shower. Hazel was in her room humming some Disney song, unaware that her mother was funneling their future into a plan that did not include me. Later that night, Trina poured 2 glasses of wine and sat next to me on the couch. I was thinking we could take a trip soon. Just the 3 of us. Get away, you know? Recharge. I looked at her over the rim of my glass. "That sounds nice. Anywhere in mind? Maybe Denver. I have always loved the art museums there." "Denver." She said it like it meant nothing, like she had not just moved our savings there in silence. "You remember the name of that hotel we stayed at?" I asked. She blinked. "Just for a second." "No, not really." "Why?" I leaned in closer. "No reason. Just thinking about the past." She kissed me slow. I kissed her back, slower. But in my mind, I was not there anymore. I was already at war. I invited them both for dinner. Trina blinked when I suggested it. "You mean, Brett? For dinner here?" "Yeah," I said. "We used to be close. Might be good for Hazel to see everyone together." She looked at me like she was trying to read something hidden behind my eyes. But I had trained for that. To mask pain. To lie with stillness. She nodded. "Sure. I will tell him." Saturday came fast. The table was set for 4. I grilled steaks. Hazel colored at the corner of the dining room, earbuds in. Trina wore red lipstick, the one she never used around me anymore. Brett arrived right on time. That used to be something I respected about him. Now it just made me want to break his nose more efficiently. He walked in like nothing had happened. "Hey man," he said, forcing a smile. "Long time." I shook his hand. Firm. Cold. "Yeah. Too long." Dinner was fake. Every word. Every laugh. Hazel kept looking up, confused by how quiet I was. After dessert, I stood up and cleared the plates. Then I turned around and dropped the line like a sniper shot. "So, how long have you two been screwing each other?" Hazel's marker froze midline. Trina gasped. "What the hell are you talking about?" I stepped closer. Calm. Measured. "Brett, help her out. You were not just fixing pipes, were you?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. Trina stood. "Cole, you are scaring Hazel." I looked at Hazel. "Sweetheart, go to your room. Now." She obeyed. Silent. Scared. Once the door shut, I tossed a flash drive on the table. Footage. Calls. Money trails. I know about Denver. I know about the fake invoices. Trina's eyes filled. "Please, you do not get to cry," I snapped. "You lied in my bed while planning a life with him. That makes you a liar and a coward, not a victim." Brett muttered, "This is messed up." I stepped in close. "No. What is messed up is betraying someone who would have taken a bullet for both of you." Then I turned and walked out. The war had just gone public. The next morning, Trina did not speak. She moved around the kitchen like a ghost, eyes hollow, hands shaking. Brett was gone, vanished before sunrise. Probably drove straight to his ex-wife's or some hole in the wall. I drank my coffee slow, sitting across from her in silence. Finally, she asked, Are you really going to destroy me? I looked up, calm. You destroyed yourself. She swallowed hard. I did not mean to hurt anyone. I felt invisible. You were always gone, even when you were home. You think I fought wars to come home and babysit your loneliness. She flinched. Hazel came downstairs quietly. I stood and poured her juice. She sat at the counter, eyes darting between us. Is Mommy in trouble? I bent down to her level. No. Mommy just made some mistakes. Grown up once. Hazel frowned. Is she going away? Trina's voice cracked. I am not going anywhere. But Hazel looked at me for confirmation. I did not say yes. I did not say no. Later that day, I met with the attorney. She reviewed the footage, bank logs, texts. I have seen a lot, she said. But this is airtight. You want full custody? Yes, I said. And I want supervised visitation. I do not trust her anymore. She nodded slowly. You are going to win this. But you need to be careful. Trina is the kind of woman who only plays nice when she thinks she can still win. I know, I said. That is why I am not giving her another inch. As I left the office, I saw a father walking out with his toddler. He looked exhausted, but happy. I remembered when I felt that way. And I promised myself I would feel it again. Without the lies. Trina came home to a manila envelope waiting on the kitchen table. She froze when she saw my handwriting on it. She did not open it right away. She just stood there for a moment, like she was trying to decide whether she wanted to know what was inside. Eventually, she sat down. Inside, divorce papers, custody motion, affidavit of infidelity with attached exhibits. No letter, no personal note. The message was the silence. She found me in the backyard, watering the grass. Tears streaked her cheeks. So that is it. You are divorcing me. Yes. You are really going to take Hazel from me? I turned off the hose. Faced her. I am not taking her. I am saving her. From watching her mother lie and cheat like it is normal. From becoming someone who thinks betrayal is just part of life. You cannot do this. You cannot just erase me. I stepped closer, low voice. You already erased yourself when you gave up on us. She slapped me. It did not hurt. It felt like nothing. I walked past her. That night, Hazel curled up in bed with me. She whispered, Is Mommy mad at you? No, baby. Mommy is just sad. She looked up. I do not want to live somewhere else. I kissed her forehead. You will not. I promise. In the distance, I heard the front door shut. Trina was gone. Maybe to Brett. Maybe to scream into a void. I did not care. She would not find peace until she understood the weight of what she had destroyed. And I was just getting started. In small towns, people do not need facts. They just need the right spark, and the fire spreads on its own. The first flicker started at Hazel's school. One of the mothers, Kelly Thompson, cornered Trina during pickup. You know, I heard Brett is selling his house. Any truth to that? Trina smiled. I do not really know what Brett does anymore. Kelly leaned in. That is funny. My cousin saw your car parked in his driveway a few nights ago. Just thought I would mention it. By the time Trina got home, she was furious. You are turning people against me? She snapped as she tossed her purse on the counter. I did not even look up. People draw their own conclusions. I just gave them the truth. You think humiliating me is going to help Hazel? I think honesty is overdue, I said, folding laundry calmly. Especially when it concerns her future. That weekend, I attended a neighborhood cookout with Hazel. Alone. People came up to shake my hand, ask how I was holding up. Some looked embarrassed, like they knew they had once admired a fake marriage. One guy even muttered, Man, you deserve better. I just nodded. Trina did not show. Neither did Brett. By Monday, her office had called her in. She came home red-eyed, keys shaking in her hand. They suspended me, she said softly. Pending investigation. I looked at her for the first time in days. This is what happens when you build your life out of lies. It collapses the second you take your hands off it. She stared at me, speechless. I walked past her and said the last thing she expected. I have not even started yet. The day I stepped into my lawyer's office with the second flash drive, she looked at me like I had just handed her a missile. You really want to include the voice recordings? she asked. Yes, I said. Every one of them. She clicked play on a file labeled kitchen_5am.wave. Trina's voice crackled through the speaker. Once the money clears, I will take Hazel, and he will not even see it coming. Brett said the papers are almost ready. Cole will fold. He always folds when it gets emotional. My lawyer paused it. This one alone will bury her. Good, I said. She was betting on my silence. She forgot what I do for a living. We outlined a full custody request. Evidence file divided into 3 volumes: financial misconduct, marital infidelity, child welfare risk. Judges do not care about cheating unless it affects the child, she reminded me. She tried to manipulate Hazel, I said. Tried to convince her I would leave. That changed everything. The next week, Trina received the updated custody motion. I watched her read it at the dining table, lips trembling. You really think I am unfit? No, I said, standing behind her. I know you are. She turned slowly, face red. You are playing dirty. I leaned down, quiet voice in her ear. No, you played dirty. I am just not letting you win. She threw the file across the room. Hazel peeked out from the stairs, wide-eyed. I caught her gaze and nodded. You okay, bub? She nodded, slowly. Trina stormed into the garage. I just started dinner. It was time she learned what a real fight looked like, one that could not be walked away from. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. Until then, it was about staying smart, staying calm, and protecting Hazel from the explosion I knew was coming. I kept her routine normal. School, art classes, movie nights. No yelling. No late-night arguments. No scenes. Trina, on the other hand, was unraveling. She would stay up pacing the kitchen until 2 a.m. lights on, talking to herself. Wine glass always full, never finished. She tried to pull Hazel in. Honey, if Daddy takes you away, just know I tried. I overheard it. The very next morning, I filed a temporary restraining order regarding psychological manipulation of a minor. By the end of the week, a court officer delivered it to the front door. Trina screamed when she read it. You are trying to erase me from my daughter's life. I stayed seated on the porch. No, I said. I am trying to make sure she grows up with someone who does not teach her how to lie. She spat at the ground and walked away. Hazel came outside an hour later. She sat beside me, quiet. After a while, she whispered, Are you scared? I looked at her. Honest. Yeah, but not of her. I am scared you will think this is your fault. She shook her head. I do not. I just wish it was over. I nodded slowly. It will be. She rested her head on my arm. And in that moment, I knew why I had to win. Not just for revenge. For her. For peace. For truth. It was strange, sleeping in the same house with someone who had already mentally packed her bags. Trina was quieter now. Not remorseful, just careful. She knew the court date was coming. She knew I was not bluffing anymore. But she still tried to manipulate the narrative. I know we have been through a lot, she said one night as she brought 2 mugs of tea to the living room. But maybe, if we step back, maybe this does not have to get ugly. I looked at her. No anger. Just calculation. It is already ugly. She nodded slowly, sipping the tea she made, as if we were still pretending. But we both love Hazel, she said. Maybe we can find middle ground. I set my cup down. Middle ground died the day you used her to cover your affair. She flinched, not at the words, but at the way I said them. Controlled. Precise. The next night, I watched from upstairs as she stood outside on the back porch, whispering into her phone. I could not make out every word, but I caught a few. He is playing smart. Yes, I think he has recordings. I do not know what he'll show the judge. Then she glanced up toward the bedroom window. I pulled back into the dark. We were both at war. The difference was, I trained for this. She was surviving on panic. I was operating on patience. And every night she slept beside me, thinking she still had a chance, was one more night I inched closer to taking everything back. There are moments in life when everything locks into place, when fate, strategy, and timing intersect perfectly. That moment came on a Tuesday night. Trina was on the phone again. She thought I was in the garage. The camera I had hidden inside her jewelry box, disguised as a velvet lining, captured everything. She was pacing the bedroom, whispering fast. "Brett, listen to me. If he shows that video in court, I am done. You understand? I will lose custody. I will lose everything." She paused. "No, I am not going to confess anything. That is suicide." Another pause. "Because he has not snapped yet, that is why. If he was going to, he would have. He is being too calm. That scares me more." My hands were steady as I clipped the audio to a fresh folder. She was admitting fear, awareness, a conscious cover-up. That was evidence of intent, of premeditation. She sat on the bed, sighing, rubbing her face. Then something darker came out of her mouth. "I should have done it faster. I should have just taken Hazel and left. He never would have caught up. That was the plan." There it was. She never meant to play fair. She was not just cheating on me. She was plotting to erase me. Quietly, permanently, like I was just another mistake she regretted ever loving. I shut the laptop, sat back, and stared at the wall. This was not about infidelity anymore. This was about identity. She wanted to rewrite the story of our family, without the man who bled for it. Not happening. Not while I still had air in my lungs. Hazel had always been bright, sensitive. She saw what adults try to hide. One evening, I found her sitting on the stairs long after bedtime, knees pulled to her chest, her sketchbook in her lap. I sat beside her without a word. She turned the page. It was a drawing of our house, cracked down the middle. In the yard stood 3 stick figures. One of them, a girl, was reaching for the man on one side. The mother figure stood far away, turned the other direction. "I had a dream last night," Hazel whispered. "You were walking away, and Mommy tried to stop me from following." I swallowed hard. "What did you do?" She looked up. "I ran after you anyway." I closed my eyes for a moment. "Hazel, you are not supposed to see so much. You are just a kid." She shook her head. "But I do see. And I hear too." I turned to her. "What have you heard?" Her voice was tiny, but clear. "Mommy said you are not strong anymore. That you used to be a soldier, but now you are just sad." My throat tightened. She looked up, confused. "Is that true?" I held her hand. "No. What I am is tired, but not weak. And I will never, ever stop fighting for you. That is what a real soldier does, even after the battle." She hugged me tight. And in that moment, I stopped thinking about the legal strategy, the revenge, the recordings. I thought only of her, of protecting her peace, not just from Trina's lies, but from the belief that love was something disposable. She was the only reason I had not burned the whole world down yet. But if it came to it, I would. For her. The courthouse date was 5 days away. Trina stopped pretending. No more let's talk. No more fake dinners. Just doors slamming. Silent meals. Her rage had gone cold, like a storm circling before the strike. But I stayed steady. Hazel and I kept our rhythm. I dropped her at school, picked her up. We played cards, ate pancakes for dinner. Our world was shrinking down to just us, and that was enough. The night before the pre-trial hearing, Trina came into the living room. She did not look like herself. No makeup, no act, just raw nerves and red eyes. "You are really doing this," she said. "Yes." She laughed, bitter, small. "You are trying to destroy me." "No," I said. "I am trying to protect Hazel. From this version of you." She looked at me, and for once, the mask dropped completely. "I made a mistake. You made 100. She sat down across from me. "You loved me once," she said softly. "I did," I answered. "And that man died the night I saw you in our bed with someone else." Her jaw clenched. "He was there for me." "No. He was there for what he could take from you. And you let him." She stood, walked toward the hallway, then stopped. "I hope she forgets you." I stood too. She will forget the lies, the screaming, the late night crying. But she will never forget who stayed. She walked out. I sat back down. Steady heartbeat. Steady hands. The war was almost over. But the real shot had not been fired yet. It started with a shoebox in the attic. I had gone up there looking for Hazel's old art supplies. Instead, I found something I had not seen in years, a box labeled deployment stuff, private. I almost left it there, but something told me to open it. Inside were old pictures, coins, unit patches, and then a stack of envelopes. Letters, all from Trina. Dozens. Some dated while I was in Iraq. Some from between deployments. Some postmarked during times she told me she needed space. I opened one and started reading. I keep thinking about Brett. About how different he makes me feel. You are always so distant now. I miss being seen. Another. Maybe when you come home, I will pretend. But part of me already knows this marriage died a long time ago. The blood drained from my face. These were not just regrets. They were confessions. Quiet ones. Unsent. Hidden. Written to ease her guilt. Never meant for me. I read every single one. Not out of spite, but clarity. This was not a mistake. It was a path she chose years ago. She had just waited until I was too tired to fight back. But she miscalculated. I scanned the letters. Filed them with the rest of the evidence. When I walked back into the house, I was not angry. I was done. Done giving her chances. Done second-guessing my revenge. She thought hiding the truth would keep her in control. But some things never stay buried. Especially when you try to erase a soldier who never left the field. The subpoena arrived at her office that Friday morning. Witness testimony. Financial misconduct. Emotional manipulation of a minor. Custody request backed by digital evidence. By noon, she was officially suspended. Indefinitely. Her boss, Helen Marks, issued a public HR statement. And just like that, the mask Trina wore for years, the working mom, the PDA rep, the polished team lead, cracked in the town's front window. She came home and slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the hallway wall. You dragged my job into this? No, I said, calm as ever. You did. When you used your business account to fund your affair. I will lose everything. I looked her in the eye. That is Karma's job. I am just the delivery man. She threw a vase. It shattered at my feet. Hazel screamed from upstairs. I pointed toward the mess. That right there? That is why you will not win. She was breathing hard, cornered now, not because of me, but because of her own lies finally circling back. Everyone is turning on me, she whispered. I cannot go anywhere without getting those looks. I walked past her. You did this to yourself. You just thought no one would ever hold you accountable. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to be happy. Then you should not have destroyed the one person who gave you everything. She stood frozen as I walked up the stairs, past the shards on the floor, past the lies. Upstairs, Hazel stood outside her room. She looked scared. I knelt down, hugged her close. Are we okay? She whispered. I kissed her head. We are getting there. And that was the truth. We were finally getting there. The night before the hearing, I laid everything out on the table. Literally. 3 black binders, neatly labeled. One with financial records. One with recordings. One with Hazel's written account, drawn in crayon. Her words matched to dates, matched to voice logs. Each piece was in place. Trina came down the stairs around midnight. She had not been sleeping much. Not that it mattered. You are going to humiliate me tomorrow, aren't you? She said, standing at the edge of the living room, arms crossed, hair a mess. No, I said without looking up. You did that all by yourself. She came closer. Her voice softened. I loved you once, you know. I looked up, calm. No, you loved what I gave you. Stability. A name. A child. A house with a porch and a quiet neighborhood. You never loved me. Because if you did, you would not have fed me lies while holding someone else's hand. She looked like she wanted to slap me again. But something stopped her this time. I could still fight you for her, she whispered. I stood slowly. You already did. And you lost the second she stopped calling you mommy and started calling you her. Trina blinked hard, like she had been punched. I walked past her and placed the binders into my bag. Then I said the words I had been holding in for weeks. I stopped loving you the night Hazel told me the truth. And I stopped hating you the moment I realized I won. Because even if the court rules tomorrow against me, she is mine. In every way that matters. I did not wait for a response. I just walked up the stairs and closed the door behind me. The next morning, we would go to court. But the battle? That was already over. It happened the way betrayal always does, quietly, unexpectedly, from someone you would die for. We were standing outside the courthouse. I had Hazel's hand in mine, adjusting her backpack strap when she looked up at me, hesitant. "Daddy." I knelt down. "What is it, Bug?" She shifted her weight, eyes lowered. "Mom said something yesterday. I do not think it is true, but—" My stomach tightened. "What did she say?" Hazel looked me dead in the eyes. She said, "You are not really my dad." The air vanished from my lungs. I stayed still, focused. "What else did she say?" "That she wanted to tell me sooner, but she was scared you would leave. She said Brett might be, but I do not believe her, Daddy. I swear I do not." She started crying. I hugged her so tight she trembled. "You listen to me," I said into her hair. "No matter what anyone says, I am your father. You understand? Blood does not mean anything when love is this real." She nodded, sobbing into my chest. Inside, my heart was falling down a well. I had trained to stay calm under pressure. I had survived being shot at. But this was different. This was betrayal from another angle. A wound I did not even know I had. I looked at Trina across the lot. She was standing by her lawyer, arms folded, like she had dropped a bomb and was watching the smoke. For the first time in this entire war, I felt rage. Not cold, not tactical, rage. But I swallowed it down and walked Hazel through the courthouse doors. I would deal with the blood later. Right now, I still had to win. For her. The hearing had not even started yet. I stood in the hallway, trying to breathe. My lawyer, Clara, saw my face and pulled me aside. "You look pale. What happened?" I kept my voice low. Trina told Hazel I might not be her biological father. Her eyes widened. "Did she say it in court?" "No." To Hazel. "At home. Do you want to bring it up today?" I looked through the glass window at Hazel, sitting calmly on the bench, coloring. "No, not yet. This case is about who is stable, not who shares blood." She nodded. "Smart call. If the judge finds out she tried to weaponize Hazel emotionally, it will backfire." We walked into the courtroom. Trina was dressed in pale gray, trying to look soft, innocent. The judge entered. Gavel hit. The trial began. She went first. Her lawyer painted a picture of a distant husband, a lonely wife, and a good mother doing her best. I barely blinked. Then came our turn. Clara submitted the documents. Exhibit A, withdrawn savings. Exhibit B, hotel records, phone logs. Exhibit C, voice recordings, Trina plotting to flee with Hazel. And then came the sketchbook. Hazel's own words, written in shaky print. "Mom said Daddy is sad. She said he will leave. But he never does. He always picks me up." The judge read that page longer than any evidence. Afterward, the room was silent. No yelling, no gloating. Just Trina, shrinking in her chair, like a candle burning down to nothing. When the session recessed, I stepped out to the hall again, took a long breath, and closed my eyes. Maybe I was not her biological father, but I was the man who showed up. Every damn time. And now, I was going to prove it, in every way that mattered. After the hearing, we went home quietly. Hazel had not asked any more questions since the courthouse, but I knew she was thinking about it. That one sentence from her mother had cracked something deep, even if she could not name it yet. That night, after she fell asleep, I walked past her room and noticed the edge of a journal peeking out from under her pillow. I hesitated. Then I picked it up. Inside were pages of messy writing and crooked sketches. Some were just kid thoughts, songs she liked, things she wanted for her birthday. But one page hit like a rifle shot. "I wish Mommy did not lie. I wish Daddy was my real daddy, but maybe he is anyway. He never leaves me like Mommy says. He always stays." The words looked shaky, rushed, like she had written them after crying. Another page had a drawing of the two of us, just me and her, holding hands on a bridge while Trina stood on the other side, arms folded, alone. I sat on her bed and stared at the picture for a long time. This was not about winning a court case anymore. This was about defining truth for a little girl who had been dragged through adult chaos she never asked for. I put the journal back exactly where I found it. And then I went downstairs, opened my laptop, and called Clara. I want to add something else, I said. She sounded alert. What? Hazel's personal notes. Her drawings. Not just to prove custody, but to prove damage. You want emotional negligence added? Yes. I want the court to see what Trina's lies have done to her. There was a pause on the other end. I will add it to the next hearing packet, she said. This might tip everything. I closed the laptop and looked out the window. Trina tried to use Hazel as a pawn. Now, her own daughter was speaking the truth in ink and paper. And no judge in the world would ignore that. The news came 3 days later. I was in the garage tightening bolts on Hazel's bike when my phone rang. Clara's voice came through, low and serious. You are not going to believe this. What? Your PI finally got the full background on Brett. I stood still. He is not clean, Cole. He is not just a homewrecker. He has a sealed case from 5 years ago, harassment of a coworker. The woman filed a complaint, then retracted it. But it was logged. There is also an unpaid tax lien. And he falsified invoices at a previous job. Got quietly let go. Does Trina know? Doubt it. She probably thinks he is some kind of victim. But this is going straight into your case file. I leaned back, heart pounding, not from fear, but realization. He is dangerous, I said. At the very least, unstable. Especially now that everything is blowing up. Do you think he will run? No, I said coldly. Cowards like him always hide behind someone first. And that someone was Trina. That evening, I watched her pace the kitchen on the phone. She did not know I could hear everything. I do not care about the court, she hissed. We are leaving town after the next hearing. I have Hazel's passport ready. He is not taking her from me. I took a deep breath and hit record on the backup line I had wired under the hallway vent. A plan to flee with Hazel, post-court? That was abduction. And now I had it in her own voice. I sat at the kitchen table as she passed me later, pretending not to see me. She had no idea that her last chance just self-destructed. The day after that phone call, Trina posted a picture on social media. It was a photo of Hazel, smiling, holding a drawing, with the caption, "Still fighting for what matters most." Some people will lie and twist things, but a mother's love never fades. Hashtag truth will win, hashtag single mom strong. The comments section lit up within hours. At first, a few friends offered support. Then someone, I do not know who, shared a private message. You sure about this? We've seen the court papers. Your lies are catching up. Another comment. Weren't you sleeping with your husband's best friend while taking child support? She deleted the post within the hour. But it was too late. Screenshots spread fast. Someone linked her employer's HR page. Someone else tagged Brett's business. Hazel's teacher, God bless her, left a quiet comment under the original post. Children should never be used as shields. Please think about Hazel first. That one hit the hardest. Because it came from someone who had actually seen the damage firsthand. Trina shut down her account that night. She walked around the house like a ghost, rattled, angry, defeated. You did this, she muttered. I was pouring coffee. I did not even look up. No, you just got seen for who you really are. She glared at me. You ruined me. No, I said again. You did that the second you put your pride above your daughter. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. And for the first time since all of this began, she had nothing left to say. The second court date was set for Thursday at 9 a.m. But by Wednesday night, I had already set the trap. Clara helped me file an emergency motion based on the recorded phone call from the kitchen vent, where Trina admitted planning to leave town with Hazel. Kidnapping, under family court law. Trina had no idea. That morning, she got Hazel ready for school like nothing was coming. Hair brushed, snack packed, her fake smile worn like makeup she could not wipe off. I followed behind them in silence. Calm, watchful. We arrived at court. The judge entered 15 minutes late. Trina looked too confident. She wore a soft blue dress, held a tissue in her hand, and even dabbed her eyes before the hearing started, practicing tears before the fight began. The judge called us forward. Papers shuffled. Statements read. Then Clara stood up. Your Honor, we request to introduce new evidence in the form of an audio recording taken legally within the defendant's residence, detailing an explicit plan to relocate the child in violation of custody agreements, pending trial outcome. Trina's head snapped toward us. She knew what was coming. The judge hit his gavel. Let's hear it. Clara played the audio. Trina's voice filled the courtroom, scratchy but clear. After the next hearing, I have Hazel's passport ready. He is not taking her from me. When it ended, the room was silent. Then the judge spoke. Mrs. Danner, care to explain? Trina froze. She looked like a marionette whose strings had just been cut. I was just venting. The judge frowned. You do not prepare passports to vent. Clara slid one more document across the table. Hazel's journal page, the one where she mentioned her mother lying. The judge looked down at it, then back up at us. And I saw it. That shift. The moment the law stopped seeing Trina as a mother and started seeing her as a threat. The courtroom changed after that recording. Trina's lawyer went pale, whispered frantically to her. But the damage was done. The judge asked for a recess. Outside, Trina lunged toward me in the hallway. You bugged our house. Are you serious? Clara stepped in. The devices were placed only in areas Mr. Danner legally owns. There is nothing illegal here. Trina looked at me like she was finally seeing the full shape of what she was up against. Not a grieving husband. Not a broken man. A soldier. Focused. Precise. Unforgiving. Inside the courtroom, the judge returned after 20 minutes. He was not smiling. I have reviewed the audio, the context, and the supporting documents. Based on the totality of evidence, the financial misconduct, the emotional instability, the intent to remove the child without court approval, I am issuing the following decision. Trina shifted in her seat, clenching the edge of the table. Temporary full custody is awarded to Mr. Cole Danner. Supervised visitation for Mrs. Danner. And a follow-up evaluation is scheduled with Child Welfare Services. Gasps from the back of the room. I heard Clara exhale, slow and quiet. I turned my head, not to gloat, but to see Trina's reaction. She was not crying. She was not screaming. She was staring at her hands like they had betrayed her. Because this time, there was no one left to blame. Outside, Hazel waited in the hallway, sitting with her sketchbook. When I came out, she looked up and asked, "Did we win?" I knelt beside her, smiled. "We are going home together. That is all that matters." She grinned and hugged me, tighter than ever. The war was not over. But this battle? I had won it clean. We arrived home that evening, just me and Hazel. No tension, no pacing feet, no wine bottles rattling in the sink. Just quiet, peaceful. Hazel picked a movie and curled up under her favorite blanket. I sat beside her and watched her fall asleep before the opening credits ended. And in that moment, the silence did not feel empty. It felt earned. An hour later, I heard the knock. Slow, heavy. I opened the front door to find Trina standing there. No makeup. What eyes? Shoulders slumped like she had been holding herself up too long. "You happy now?" she whispered. "No," I said. "But I am calm. I gave you my best years." "No. You gave me what you wanted me to believe were your best years." She took a step closer. "I made mistakes." I raised a hand. "Stop calling it that. You had choices. You chose Brett. You chose lies. You chose to weaponize our daughter." She shook her head, furious now. "You think you are so noble. But without us, you are nothing." I stared at her for a long beat. Then I spoke quietly. "I was nothing when I let you define me. I am more now, because I chose truth. I chose Hazel. And I chose peace." She blinked hard. Her lips trembled. Then she said the words I had been waiting for. "I do not even know who I am anymore." I nodded. "That makes two of us. But the difference is, I am building. You are just breaking." I shut the door. Not in anger. In closure. The first session was awkward. Hazel sat in the center of the couch, legs swinging. I sat beside her, unsure whether to hold her hand or give her space. The therapist, a kind, gray-haired woman named Jean, smiled softly and said, Hazel, do you know why you are here today? Hazel nodded. Because things got weird at home. Jean smiled gently. That is a very honest answer. We talked about dreams, about sadness, about drawings that felt safer than words. Hazel spoke in short sentences at first, then longer ones. Then she looked at me and said something that shook me more than the court ever could. I was scared Mommy would take me away, but I was more scared you would not come after me. My throat tightened. Jean watched me carefully. I spoke slowly. Hazel, I would have walked through fire to find you. There was never a world where I let you go. She leaned against me. Small. Warm. I know that now, she whispered. Jean nodded. This is where we start, Cole. Not just healing, but rebuilding. And for the first time in months, I believed it. There were things I had never said to anyone. Things I left overseas. Things I buried so deep even I forgot they were there. But Hazel deserved to know all of me. So I started writing. Every night after she went to bed, I pulled out a leather-bound journal and wrote one page. Not about the war, not at first, but about being her father. About the first time I held her. About nights I missed her during deployment. About the day she messaged me, and everything broke. Some nights the words came out clean. Other nights they came out messy, broken, scratched out, and rewritten. But they came. One entry read, "You saved me the day you sent that message, baby girl. I do not know if you knew what you were doing, but that one sentence reminded me of everything I was fighting for. Not the house. Not the marriage. You." Hazel did not know about the journal yet. One day, when she was older, I would give it to her. Not for sympathy, for clarity. So she would never confuse silence with weakness or love with possession. And when that time came, she would know, not just that her father fought for her, but exactly why. It started with a notice on the door. Trina had missed 2 mortgage payments on the condo she moved into after the court ruling. Her job had not reinstated her. Her reputation? Gone. Brett had vanished, of course. No calls. No messages. Just like every other coward who runs when things fall apart. She showed up at the front door one evening, not angry, not loud, just empty. "I lost everything," she said softly. I looked at her, standing on my porch like a stranger. "I am sorry you are hurting," I said, and meant it, but not in the way she hoped. But this is what happens when you set fire to your own life and expect someone else to hand you water. She sat down on the porch steps. "I thought Brett would stay." I said nothing. "I thought Hazel would miss me." "She does," I said, "but not in the way you think." She looked up. "What do I do now?" I took a breath. "Start over. And this time, choose truth." She nodded slowly. I offered her a bottle of water. Nothing more. That was all I had left for her. And maybe all she ever truly deserved. I thought it was over. Until the knock came. 2 officers. Plain clothes. "Mr. Danner, do you know a Brett Whitmore?" I straightened up. "Unfortunately, we are investigating multiple fraud complaints. We traced financial records from a flagged account in Trina Danner's name, but connected to Brett. He has been operating under aliases, using joint accounts to launder payments through a private HVAC shell company." I stared. "I have some files that might help," I said. They took them. Thanked me. 2 weeks later, headline, "Local contractor arrested in fraud ring investigation. Involves embezzlement, identity theft, and potential child endangerment." Apparently, Brett had more enemies than I thought, and one of them had finally spoken up. Trina was questioned, too. She was not charged, but her name was in the same reports. The irony? If she had stayed loyal to the man she married, she would have avoided the one who destroyed everything. Hazel never even asked about Brett again, and I never said his name in our house again. He did not deserve it. The school auditorium smelled like glue and sweat, but it was packed. Hazel stood on stage holding her little paper guitar, squinting into the lights. Her class had written original songs about heroes. Most sang about firefighters or cartoons. But when Hazel stepped up, she cleared her throat and said, "My hero is my dad, because he fights quietly, and he never leaves, not even when it hurts." The room was silent. She strummed softly, off-key but fearless. He holds my hand and says it's okay even when the world goes gray. He is my home, my safe, my brave, my hero never walks away. I could not breathe. My hands were shaking. And for the first time since this all began, my knees gave out. I dropped to the floor quietly, not because I was weak, but because I had finally been seen. Not as a soldier, not as a husband, but as a father. The kind that stays. The applause thundered as Hazel stepped down from the stage, red-cheeked and proud. I stood to meet her, still shaking from what she had just sung, still trying to steady my breath. "You okay, Daddy?" she asked, hugging my side. I smiled, eyes still wet. Better than ever. Jean, the therapist, had warned me. Moments like this would come. Sudden, unexpected, cracking you wide open after months of holding it all in. I had not expected it to hit in a middle school auditorium with folding chairs and juice boxes. But it did. Later that night, I sat on the edge of Hazel's bed as she drifted off to sleep. I tucked the blanket around her shoulders and whispered, "Thank you." She blinked once, confused. For what? For choosing me. Her smile was small, sleepy. I never had to choose. You were always mine. I stayed in that room a long time after she closed her eyes. And for the first time since that message came in, "Daddy, why does Mommy kiss Uncle Brett?" I cried. No rage. No shame. Just release. The old wooden box had been sitting on my closet shelf since my second tour. It held medals, dog tags, a photo of my squad. I had never shown it to Hazel, but now felt like the right time. We sat at the kitchen table. She turned the box in her hands like it was a treasure chest. "What is all this?" "Pieces of who I used to be," I said. She lifted out a small bronze medal. "What is this one for?" "Saving a man under fire." "Were you scared?" I thought about it. Not until after. That is when fear catches up. But while it is happening, you just move. You protect. She nodded like she understood more than a 10-year-old should. Then she reached into the box and pulled out a folded paper. "What is this?" I opened it. A letter Trina had written years ago, one I had tucked away and forgotten. "If anything ever happens to me, tell Hazel that her father is the reason she knows what real strength looks like." It was from a time before lies, before betrayal. I did not say anything. Hazel looked up. "Were you always this strong?" I smiled. "No, I just never stopped showing up." It came at 3:17 a.m. Just a single message. "I am sorry. I do not deserve forgiveness. But I needed you to know that I was wrong. About everything. Tell Hazel I love her, if she ever wants to hear it." I stared at the screen for a long time. There was no anger left in me. No desire to respond. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is simply choosing peace over poison. I did not reply. I showed Hazel the message the next morning. She read it. Quiet. Then looked at me. "Do I have to say anything?" "No," I said. "Not until you are ready." She handed me back the phone. "I am not ready." And I respected that. Trina had made her choices. And now she had to live with the silence her choices created. There was no dramatic ending. No curtain fall. Just life. Returning. Slowly. Steadily. Hazel started smiling more. Laughing again. We went hiking on weekends. Built puzzles at night. Therapy turned from pain to play. Trina stayed away. She sent gifts. Birthday cards. But never showed up uninvited again. One morning, Hazel looked up from her cereal and said, "Do you think people can change?" "Yes," I said, "but only when they really want to." She nodded, then asked something I did not expect. "Do you think she will try?" "I think she might. One day." Hazel thought for a second. "I hope so. But if she does not, I will still be okay." That was the moment I knew we had made it through. Not just the court, not just the betrayal, but the emotional war inside us both. We had survived. And more than that, we had won. Spring had just begun. Hazel and I were planting tomatoes in the backyard. Her idea. She said it made the dirt feel less like mess and more like building something. I handed her a small shovel. She glanced at me between scoops. "Do you think Mommy misses me?" I paused. "I think she does." "Then why did she leave like that?" I sighed. "Some people get lost, Hazel. They do not always mean to. But once they are deep enough in, they stop asking for help. She thought about that. Are you mad at her still? No, I said. But I remember what she did. I just do not carry it anymore. Hazel frowned. Is that the same as forgiving? I nodded. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is choosing not to let the hurt lead you. She pressed the shovel into the soil. So, I can still be mad and forgive. Exactly. She wiped her forehead with her sleeve. That is confusing. I smiled. Life is confusing, but you are figuring it out faster than most. She looked up. Will you ever tell her you forgive her? Maybe. When it matters. And I meant that. Because forgiveness is not for the person who hurt you. It is for the person you are becoming after. The attic was warm with late light filtering through a dusty window. I had gone up to grab Hazel's old baby blanket for a memory box. Instead, I found an envelope marked with one word in Trina's handwriting. Cole. I sat down and opened it. The paper had yellowed slightly. The letter was dated 2 years before the affair started. If you are reading this, it means I never had the guts to say it out loud. You are a good man. A better one than I ever deserved. I am scared I am losing myself. I am scared I will ruin this family. If I ever do, please know it was not because you failed me. It was because I failed myself. It hit like a delayed grenade. This was the version of Trina I remembered, before lies took over her mouth, before Brett, before the distance. She had seen it coming, felt it, and still walked toward the fire anyway. I folded the letter back slowly. There was sadness in it, but no shock. People can sense their own storms. Some run, some mourn others. Trina? She watched the clouds build and lit the first match. The ground was soft, damp. The air smelled like pine and fresh soil. Hazel held a small bundle of daisies. Her hands trembled slightly. She liked yellow the most, right? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. She said yellow reminded her of second chances. We stood in front of the stone. Trina Danner. No flowers yet. Just a carved name and a silence that said too much. Hazel stepped forward. I am still mad, she said soft. But I hope you are not lost anymore. She laid the flowers down. I stood beside her, quiet. Forgiveness does not always need words. Sometimes, it is a little girl placing flowers at the grave of the woman who broke her home, and still finding room to hope. As we turned to leave, Hazel slipped her hand into mine. Do you think she knew you stayed? I looked at the trees, the light through the branches. I think she knew, I said, and I think that scared her more than anything. The paperwork was clean. No more hearings. No more supervision visits. Just a simple filing. Full parental custody granted to Cole Danner. No contest. I walked out of the courthouse and felt nothing dramatic. Just air. Real air. The kind you forget you were holding back. Hazel was waiting in the truck, flipping through a comic book. How was it? She asked. I smiled. Official. She held out her fist for a bump. We drove home in silence. But a good one. That night, Hazel helped me clear out the last drawer of Trina's things. Old notebooks, a broken perfume bottle, a necklace she had not worn in years. Should we throw these away? Hazel asked. No, I said. Not yet. Maybe one day. She looked up at me. Are we going to be okay now? I knelt in front of her, looked her straight in the eyes. We already are. She smiled, then laughed. You always say that like it is a movie. I laughed too. Maybe it is. And if it was, we were finally past the part where everything falls apart. Now, we were writing what comes after. The sky was clear the morning it came full circle. Hazel was on the couch drawing. I was making coffee, watching her in the soft morning light. Life was simple again. No courts. No yelling. Just two people who had survived something no one saw coming. Then my phone buzzed. One new notification from an old backup account. The same military email I barely checked anymore. Subject line, family moments, backup sync complete. I opened it and saw it was tied to the old home camera system. The same system I had used during the surveillance weeks. It had auto-synced a folder I never reviewed. One Hazel had accidentally recorded. The thumbnail was grainy. I clicked. It was a clip. Just 21 seconds. The screen showed Hazel, alone in her room, sitting on the floor in pajamas. She was speaking softly into the camera. "Hi, Daddy. I do not know if you will see this, but Mommy said you might leave. And if you do, I just wanted to tell you something." She hugged her knees. "I will still love you. Even if you are gone, I will still wait." She looked up, eyes wide, tears barely held back. "Please do not go." I dropped to my knees in the kitchen. The phone slipped from my hand. My chest felt like it had been ripped open and stitched shut at the same time. That moment, that raw plea, had waited silently in some cloud folder for months. And it wrecked me more than any bullet or battlefield ever had. I walked over and sat beside Hazel on the couch, pulled her close. She looked up, curious. "Everything okay?" I just nodded and said the words I once could not say when it mattered most. "I will never leave you. Never." The video went viral 2 weeks later. Hazel's old clip, her quiet plea, was shared online by a family therapist I had once sent the footage to for consultation. She had asked permission first. I said yes, because some truths deserve to echo. The title under the clip read, "Army Dad didn't flinch in combat, but his daughter's message made him drop to his knees." Comments flooded in. "I never cried this hard in my life. This is not just about parenting. This is about showing up." She saved him, and he saved her back. Hazel did not care about the likes or shares. She just asked me one thing. "Do you think other kids saw it?" "I hope so," I said. "Maybe it will help them speak up, or help their parents wake up." We visited a veterans memorial the next weekend. Hazel laid a flower beneath one of the granite stones. "You ever get scared back then?" she asked, walking beside me. "In combat?" I said, "Yes, but you never flinched." I smiled. "Not on the outside, but on the inside. Every damn day." She looked at me and nodded. "Still, you came back." "Yeah," I said, pulling her in close. "And this time, I stayed." We watched the flag ripple above us. No words needed. The story was not just mine anymore. It belonged to every father who had been broken and rebuilt, to every daughter who had seen truth before the world did, to every person who believed that love, when protected, survives anything. Now, I want to ask you something real. If someone you love sent you a message like that, asking you not to leave, what would you do? Tell me in the comments below. I truly want to know. Also, if this story touched you even a little, please like, share with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you do not miss the next epic, emotional revenge thriller we are already working on. Until then, stay sharp, protect your peace, and as always, take care of yourself. We will meet again in the next story.